Hey, 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 are you with us now? Good. We are live exactly at noon where we want to be. And we are excited to have you all with us today as we're here for another hangout with the coach. And today we're touching that area, like we always like to touch those areas that people feel a little cautious about and people aren't really sure that that's what they want to deal with. But we're here today to talk about cold calling. And I know cold calling is one of those things that scares some of you, makes some of you uncomfortable. Um, it's okay. We're fine that you're uncomfortable because we want you to be, because we want to show you some of the things that are going to help you with cold calling. This is 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, your cold calling game should pop through the top. Let me do a few housekeeping things and then we'll get started on the cold calling process. We're here every Friday. Every Friday, we're here to bring you something that's going to take your game to the next level. Whether it's sales, whether it's production, whether it's operations, whether it's leadership, it doesn't matter. Whatever you need to take your game to the next level, we're here every Friday at noon for 30 minutes at no cost to you. And please check out our website because we have a lot of other stuff out there for you. So, can we in 30 minutes take your cold calling game to the next level? We're going to see. And if you miss any of us or you have to leave or you can't be here on a Friday, don't worry. Go to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and Manny Nowak, and you will find us because we put these up every week. They're there. I don't know how long we keep them there, but they're there for a while so you can continue your education. So today, we're going to take you to the cold call game. And if you have any comments during the session here, just throw them up on the chat board, and we'll go from there. You see, cold calling is this ace that could be in your pocket. Do you realize that? I mean, do you realize that there are so few people, first of all, who can even do cold calling? There are even fewer people who do it. And there's all these people out there telling you it doesn't work anymore. Yet, I have a good friend who has a company, and she is making great inroads. I mean, her company is zooming through by making cold calls for other people. So maybe you don't want to make them. Maybe there's no future in making your own, but I'm going to tell you, cold calls still work, and they work so effectively now because I got everybody else who does what I do telling you it doesn't work, and they're not making them themselves. I'm going to make them. So that's what we're going to tell you with today. So if you're struggling, you need to be here, and I'm glad you're here. And even if you're not struggling, if you're pretty good, you still need to be here because we got some good stuff for you. And we got a good crowd today. It's a tough crowd because if you are aggressive enough to do cold calls, we know that you are a hunter. And, and I hate to use that word because sometimes people get a little angry. Well, farmers make money too. Yes, they do. But cold calls are the tool usually of the hunter. All right, so let's keep going. And this is it, right? I mean, we got a little phone. A lot of our cold calls today are being made off our cell phone because we make them when we're out on the road, right? So it's okay to use a cell phone. So that's a tip. Don't tell me, I don't want you making cold calls while you're driving. All right, I've kind of ceased doing any phone stuff while I'm driving, but unless I'm in a passenger in the car. All right, so from Guerrilla Selling, I always like the comment which says they're cold calls because of the shiver that runs up our spine every time we have to make one. Is there a shiver running up your spine when you got to make that cold call? I hope not. Does this sucker right here, this little lightweight Apple iPhone, let me ask you, does this sucker weigh 25 pounds, and are you having a tough time bringing it up to your ear? Let's be honest, okay? Let's be honest. I hate cold calls myself. I'm not going to tell you I sit here, I love them. I had one guy that worked for me who loved to do phone calls and cold calls, and he would bang that phone, and I mean literally, when he got done and it wasn't good, he would bang it. We'd have to give him a phone every month, but he made us a lot of money, and he was a great person to work with. There's a great fear of rejection. We got to get rid of that fear, huh? We got to get rid of that fear of rejection and the fear of, I don't want to do this, and the fear of not make, there's all kinds of fear out there, but the biggest fear you as a salesperson should have, the fear that should drive you each and every day as you're out there trying to make money selling, is the fear of not making your numbers. Because as a salesperson, I have numbers. I need to make those numbers. I need to exceed those numbers. And if cold calling is one of the ways I could do that, of course, I need to make cold calls. And cold calling does work. I mean, have you tried it lately? And today we're only going to talk about the phone part of cold calling, but there's a tremendous amount of also success in walking into places. And maybe we'll deal with that in the next few weeks, 1 week. But today I just want to talk about the phone piece of cold calling. It's all about the world's doing everything. Everybody thinks email's the answer to everything, and everybody's doing that. And yet, while you're doing that, I'm getting somebody on the phone, and it's working. All right, let's get started here. Cold calling, as I stated already, is a good thing. It's not an easy thing. It's not a thing for farmers. It's not a thing for people looking for an easy way to make money. Although I would say if you can pick up the phone and you're not shy, it is relatively easy to make money in this process. You want to be part of the successful. You want to be, the one thing I tell you about phone, I can send out 100, 200, 300 emails. And you know what I get? I usually get nothing exciting happening. But if I made, and I'm not telling you to make 300 calls tomorrow, but I can guarantee you this. If you went out and you made 300 calls, it is almost guaranteed you would generate some business, because it is just that kind of thing. Some people like to tell us that we don't need to cold call anymore. And I'll tell you, that's just a bunch of baloney. Just isn't true. Cold calling is still the meat and potatoes of successful selling. So why don't we give it a try and see what happens? And it might be that this is going to be the tool that you've been looking for that's going to help you and your business. So instead of complaining about how bad things are, instead of talking about how you can't get any leads, instead of talking about how we can't get any appointments, pick this little baby up and start dialing. And it's so easy on a cell phone, especially if you have a CRM system or something. Bam, you just hit the number. You don't even have to dial, right? Wow. So try something different, and we'll show you how this sucker's going to work for you. So let me pull up what I want to talk about today. All right. I want to talk today, and we always blow our time, so I'm going to try to get all this in, and if I don't, we'll get it in the future somehow. We're going to talk about 5 keys, 5 things that can make your cold calling process work. But the first thing you got to do is you got to believe. Okay, let's start there, because even though in my list, this one I usually teach at the end, but you've got to believe. You've got to have the attitude. You're not going to pick this baby up, and you're not going to make the phone calls if you don't have the right attitude. If you don't believe that cold calling will work, if you don't believe that if I use this thing, I am actually going to hit some success today. Now, if you don't really believe that, guess what? It's probably not going to work for you, is it? So get your attitude right. Get your attitude strong. Believe it's going to work. Now, in addition to the belief that this tool is going to work, I'm assuming that you already believe in your product, because there's nothing worse than trying to sell something, and especially trying to sell something on a cold call if you don't believe in that product. And then the third thing is, you got to believe that if I make the calls, I am going to get some business. So to help you believe that, I'm going to give you the plain and simple statistics that have been true since I've been selling. And I've been selling for a while, and I don't need any smart comments on that either. But I've been selling for quite a while, and here's what I'm going to tell you, is that if you make 100 calls, 100 dials, you're going to usually get through and get 10 appointments, and you're usually going to get one deal. So every 100 calls, you're going to get an appointment, and you're going to get 10 appointments, and you're going to get a deal. Now that's average across all industries. Your industry might need more. Your industry could need less. But the point is, when you average everything together, it works. Now, where most people get killed is most people get to the point where they say, well, I just made 200 calls, Manny, and your averages don't work. It doesn't work that way. It's like maybe 1,000. If you make 1,000 calls, you'll get 100 appointments and you'll get 10 deals. It doesn't always work, in line. What's the word? Symmetrically? I think that's the word. It doesn't work that every 10th call I'll get an appointment. No, I may have to make 100 before I get one. But after you're all done and you look back, the numbers work time and time again. So enough said about that. Attitude is important. And one of the things we're going to show you, we actually are going to do some cold calling stuff in the future. And one of the things you learn about cold calls is you got to get pumped up. You've got to get your mindset. You've got to get, I'm ready. You can't just sit down and say, okay, it's time to do cold calls, just like it's time to do this or it's time to do it. You got to get mentally prepared. You have to get in the spirit. You have to feel that you're going to make money. You have to feel this is going to work. It's a mental game. Why do you think when I go back and I tell you about the one person who was the best I've ever seen, this man was mentally set. When he set to them to do them cold calls, he believed every call that he made, he was going to do business. He knew he had the best product in the market, and he believed it. So get that attitude right. Now, all right, so now you're going to sit down, you're going to do your cold calls. The next thing you need to do is you need to make sure you have a good list. All right? If you're trying to do cold calls out of the phone book, unless you're selling, I don't know, some of these infomercial products, which may not work this way, you can't work with that. You got to have a list. Now, I will tell you that most of my experience is in B2B, and that's kind of where we're at. Now, if you're doing B2C, you just adjust a little bit. But remember, on the B2C, you got to make sure that the phone number is not on the do not call list. And that's the law, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Regardless of the fact that I get 10 calls every day, I've been on a do not call list forever. I renewed and everything, people still call me. But that's the big difference. If you're dialing to consumers, you should be on you should have something checking the do not call list automatically. All right. So you got to find the right prospects to call. And if you're in B2B, the right companies to call, you got to have the right person. Now, depending on what you're selling, I always suggest to sell from the top down. So I just kind of learned that the hard way. I was trying to sell to the person who could never buy. If I start with the CEO of every company, and that to me today, that is my buyer, but all of you, if you start at the top, all they can say is, well, that's not my area, but I'll connect you. And what happens then is they connect me, and as they connect me, I pick up the phone and say, yeah, the CEO, Mr. Jones, just asked me to call you. What does that do? That changes the whole environment. And even if he sends you to somebody who sends you to somebody else, it's always, this person asked me to call you. ask me to connect with you. Or even if the person says, well, I don't handle that, but I tell you what, you call our marketing manager. His name is Joe Smith. I don't know how to connect you, but connect with him. So I called Joe Smith. I say, hey, Joe Smith, CEO just asked me to give you a call. It changes the process, doesn't it? All right. So you need the right person at the right company, and you need the right phone number. Now, there's a lot of tools out there you can use today. It's so much better. The first tool we'll talk about just briefly is this thing called Reference USA. It is like one of the gold mines, and you can get a lot of this at your local libraries. Do you know that? Do you know that? I mean, it's unbelievable. Go into Reference USA, and even if you have to buy it, it doesn't make any difference. The tool has every company. I can go in there and say I need people in this industry. I need this size company with this many computers, with this much sales in this geographic area. You can do that. And it comes back. It gives me the person's name, his position, his address, his phone number or hers. And I can sit down now and say, okay, if I'm looking for facilities managers at companies with over 500 employees in the greater New York area, bang, I got a list. Now, these are the people who can buy what I happen to have for sale, and I can sit down and I can start making the calls. LinkedIn is another great tool. How many of you, man, I use Reference USA and LinkedIn, and I kind of look them back and forth, and I can find out all the information I need. But if you connect with people on LinkedIn, you've already connected with them. Bam. And if you have the premium, I'm sorry, I'm just fired up today. Must be. I'm sorry. Let me slow down a minute here, catch my breath. But I'm telling you, cold call. This is how you got to get. This is where you got to get. If you want success in cold calls, you got to get right where I'm at. You got to get this fired up, because guess what? Nobody's going to mess with you. Oh, pick up that phone now, and I'm going to start making those calls, and it's going to be amazing, and I'm going to have great success. LinkedIn, tremendous tool to find out. Facebook, Twitter, Chamber of Commerce member lists, event lists, member lists from other organizations. People, what I'm trying to tell you is the list has to have buyers on it. And if you have a list of buyers, now you're making calls to the right people. Is it going to be easy to get it through? Of course not. It's not that easy, but just wasting time with the wrong people is even worse. I need a, let me grab some water here. We're on the cuspids here of the holiday weekend, and I know you guys and gals are all fired up out there ready to go, but just think, when you get back next week, you're going to take all this information, you're going to start making cold calls, you're going to start making money, because that's what we're talking about, isn't it? If you make cold calls and you do effectively, you're going to make your quota and you're going to hit your numbers, and that's what you need to do as a salesperson. Number two, you have to have a good script. And now I'm going to tell you salespeople out there who are hard-headed. I was just working with a team where they asked me, I got all these salespeople, and they're not making their numbers up. What my first reaction, of course, is let's fire them. But if you're not making your numbers, what are you doing? All right, so you need a good script, and you need to practice. Nothing worse than somebody getting on the phone with a bad list and no idea what they're going to say with a few scribbled notes. And I don't mean a script that sounds like a script. I mean, you need to know what you're going to say. You need to feel comfortable saying. You need to be passionate and excited, because you know what? If you call me up and say, hello, Mr. Jones. This is Jim, and I'm calling to see if you're interested. You're not? Okay, thank you. I mean, and that's how we make those calls, right? And that's just, it doesn't work. I need to know the notes. This is what I'm going to say. This is how I'm going to say it. But you don't really need a detailed script. A simply online, what is you're going to say. And nothing's worse than this one. How many of you know this one out there, right? Hey, Jim, how are you today? Who cares? You don't even know who I am. What are you asking about who I am? You know, how many people call me, how are you today? I'm like, who are you? What do you want? Why are you calling me? People are busy. Now, you need to be direct, and that's why I said you need a script, and you need to practice. Do not leave that out there. And don't forget it. Practice. You need to do this in front of a mirror, in front of your friends. If you have multiple salespeople in an organization, practice with each other. Get so it's natural. You know, I call somebody up and I say, hi, Coach Manny here, and I just got a simple question to ask you. Are you happy with your sales results? Is it meeting your expectations, or are you settling for less than you really want? Now, I got them, don't I? Would you like to continue to compete with everyone, or would you like to dominate your market? It's not about a conversation. It's about a cold call. A cold call is I need to get your attention, and I need to get your attention to the fact that you're going to want to hear more. You're going to want to do business with me. I don't want to have a conversation. I want to get your attention, or I want to move on. Another good friend of mine who does, whose organization does collection calls, he tells me, you got to move through these calls. People sit there, they procrastinate. You know, how many of us look at our cold call list again and again and again? Your job is to get on the phone. Hello, this is Manny. Goodbye. Hello, this is Manny. Over and over and over. Just pump it, pump it, pump it. That's cold calling, and that's success in cold calling. If it's not somebody who's going to buy, if it's not somebody who's interested, if you can't get to the right person, go on to the next cold call. It is a numbers game. Please understand that. I don't want to have a conversation. It's a numbers game. Now, second thing is, I used to tell people don't really leave a message. All right. And hold on one second. I'm going to come back here. And I am actually running out of power here. I didn't charge up correctly. So let me reinstitute a little juice here on this machine so that in the middle of our conversation, we don't kind of die. Let me just plug this baby in here. I think we'll be okay. There we go. I know it doesn't look great on the video, but guess what? Better than conking out, right? I need to keep working with y'all. So anyhow, so I'm pumped up now, right? Now, also, I used to tell people don't leave a message. I don't say that anymore because some people who are really good at this have taught me it is important because guess what? People might not call you back, but they remember. And they remember you called. And sometimes they remember you were a pain in the butt. And other times they remember, I really need you. So I leave a real simple message when I call. I say, hi, it's Coach Manny here. Is your sales process working? Is it meeting your expectation? If it is, say goodbye. If not, give me a call right back at 856-358-4021. Bam. That's it. Pretty straight message, right? And if you're, I even tell the guy, I don't care if you call me back. What am I doing? I'm sounding like I got $100,000 in my back pocket, right? That's what you got to remember when you're doing the cold calls. I don't need your business. I got business. Put that in your, I got a couple more here we got to try to roll through before we run out of time, right? I know you're here to learn today. It's got to be consistent. You cannot go out and start making cold calls. You know, people go to the seminars and what happens, they get all pumped up. Or after you hear me today, you're all pumped up. You say, I'm going out and I'm going to make 200 cold calls a day. I am just so pumped up and fired up that I can do this. And you can do it for one day. And then day 2, and it comes down to 50. And day 3, oh, well. No, it doesn't work that way. Consistent. What I would like you to do is simple. Start small. Make 25 cold calls a day. Every day you're working consistently every day. If you do that for 20 days, which is a month, you got 500 cold calls. 500 cold calls will generate some business, won't it? It certainly will. And it's much better than doing 100 today and then none for a couple weeks and then maybe 10. Consistency drives this. And find out a time frame too. How long are you going to do it? An hour, 2 hours, 4 hours? If I excuse me, if I'm new in the business and I don't have anything else to do, I'm probably doing 4 or 5 hours of cold calls a day because I got a list and I got to start making the calls. Hello, this is Manny. Right? Almost said, how are you today? Huh? See, those bad habits never leave. But you got to put it on your calendar, okay? Put it on your calendar, just like an appointment. Schedule cold calls every day, and what time you're doing them. Do them every day, 25 every day. If you do that over the next 2 months, I guarantee your business will kick itself in the butt, and you will be making more money. Okay, the final thing I want to talk to you about is measurement. You need to measure some important factors. And remember, we're talking about dials. If I'm going to do 25 cold calls a day, that's 25 dials. 25 times I'm going to dial the phone. That's why you can actually pump the number up higher if you want. But it's a dial. I dial the number. I get an answering machine. I leave a message. I get a gatekeeper that I got to play games with. I get whatever. But it's 25 dials. All right? How many times did I connect with the person I was looking to connect with? How many times did I try to call this number and not get through to that person? How many times did I leave a voicemail? How many appointments did I get? And how many deals did I close? You need to track that for all your calls. You don't just go out and make 500 calls. Of those 500 calls, how many people did I connect with? How many times did I speak to the right person? How many appointments did I make? And how many deals did I get? So if I made 500 dials last month, okay, and I got through to 100 people, and I got 10 appointments, and I closed 3 deals, is that worth me doing 25 calls a day? Well, I made 3 deals. They were each worth $50,000. I guess it's probably worth it. All right? Or I did it, and I got 3, and I only sell a $25 product, so you got to make a whole lot more calls, right? Remember what I told you about attitude, the biggest thing. So I know we're zooming. I'm rushing. I'm fast. I talk awful fast. Watch this thing again if you didn't get everything. That's why we throw it up there as a recording. Get some of your friends to watch it. Get some of your teams to watch it. If you're a sales manager out there and you're trying to pump up your team, get them to watch it. You know what we're here for? We're here to help you double your sales. That's the process we show. That's the process we teach. We got a new book out. I think I'm going to share that with you today, huh? Let me see if I can bring up that book just to share with you. You need this book because this book will pump your attitude, and we all need attitude pumps, right? Yes. I'm going to be quiet for a minute. I am pumped up today. This is a great webinar. I'm enjoying the crap out of it, all right? I'm going to tell you, I love teaching. And so here's the new book. Let me put that cover up there for you. Just because I want to share it with you today. There we go. All right, let's see if we could share. Whoop, I'm in the wrong area. There we go. All right, let's see if I can share with you. Yep, here it is. Okay, so there's the new book. What's your excuse? And what's your excuse for not making a cold call? Go out there, type in Manny Nowak under Amazon. You'll find the book. Go out to our website. Go out to my Facebook page. You know, I'm all over the place. Get the copy of this book. It's not about cold calling, but it's about your, you know, all that stuff when you're not consistent, you're not persistent, and you're not self-disciplined. It'll help you in the game. So we just throw that out there. Stop sharing. All right. I'm out of time. Every Friday, we're here to pump you up. Every Friday, we got a lesson for you. Get some people in. Share this with them. Go out to our YouTube channel, watch. We've been doing this for a while now. There's a bunch of videos out there. If there's any areas you need to look at, check them out. I am pumped up. And now, if you just watch this, what should you be doing for the next hour? If you got a good list, get on the phone and start making some of those cold calls. Of course. Coach Manny saying, as my great and past friend who had passed away, Burl Walk, said, get out there and create a better world. Have a great 4th of July. I will see you all next Friday.